Unconventional.
You're such a fool,
That's
honestly.
what we are.
That's so not the vibe. Anson Henry.
Yeah.
Is track and field boring?
Coliseum days. Yo, big up the one named Darren, aka No Guff, for referencing the Coliseum, because when he said that to me, I was dying laughing. We were just talking about it. Track and field has still maintained its connection to the Coliseum days. Back in the day when the Olympics started, we must be the sport that has evolved the slowest, because we're not that far removed from the Coliseum days. Only thing that's different is we're wearing more clothes. Remember the movie Ben-Hur?
Mm-hmm.
You in Gladiator. I'm thinking about all these movies as far as how the sport has evolved, which is good in some respects and it's bad in other respects because nobody's watching.
Kind of remind me of the way that this day looks outside. It's supposed to be summer right now, and it's cloudy, breezy, and just it's a little bit disheartening.
An overcast day, kind of a cool, uncomfortable breeze with
I'm not really
the sense of rain.
I'm comparing the experience of watching it to that. I know
Good
that
point.
track and field is not that. Track and field in its actual on the ground when you're there in it, it's not dreary and boring. And even if the day is dreary and boring, the excitement, the energy that you feel inside has got nothing to do with how it's being portrayed.
It's a very good point.
So
Blah.
blah.
For those who are tuning in right now, see how this episode goes, because this topic actually got us into a bit of an argument last night. This is the first time we're talking.
Anson doesn't know when to stop when it comes to having an argument or a debate. In my more mature years, as I've become older, I realise where my energy lies. And once I get to a certain point, I'm done. I've said what I need to say. But Anson...
Well, I think the problem is, to me, I don't realize when the discussion has turned into an argument. So when it's getting heated, I'm thinking this is still just
a healthy debate. But have you noticed that all of our big arguments are all around track and field?
Imagine talking to a therapist about that. Our therapist would have trouble. They'd have to catch up on a glossary of track and field. Okay, so when the leg comes over the knee...
Listen, in a pandemic
what is
when
a
you're in
runway?
lockdown...
Arm swing? What? They wouldn't understand our arguments here.
Agree to disagree. Anyway.
I'm going to allow that picture to be painted of me.
You know that's true, that's why. This is why we love doing
at least there's
this.
still some people watching track and field that still got some passion left.
I know, right?
If I'm going off what I'm seeing on Twitter in the general public, the talks that come about track and field or how it's presented, like you corrected earlier, become kind of mundane. We were watching that DK Metcalf meet the other day and we brought this up. Thank God for DK. Bench carry. Because aside from that, no one's tuning into that or staying engaged in that.
The first time I think athletes had travelled over to Europe for their first continental tour gold meet, right? I have to say, the home of track and field.
It is.
I'm just saying. Strava, you've competed there. I've competed there.
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
There, no. Yeah, I haven't been there. Sorry, no.
Ahoy, Yaxamash. You know, I can roll with a little
on the Czech Republic thing.
I can hold my own a little one here.
Yeah,
you know, with a little couple Czech words. But anyway, so we're excited. Some decent names in there. Shaqiri, Daphne Shippers, Andre de Grasse, your brethren, Gatlin, triple jump Zango against Christian Taylor. Is it Veta in the javelin?
Oh, yeah.
Listen, all these, I'm like, yeah, this is about to be fire. I've only seen this in movies, but you know, like when you see those young college kids and they're around the campfire, they have a party at the campfire on the beach and they're having the whale of the time, doing their thing. And then someone just comes and just says, right, the party's over, an older party pooper. And then they just get a big bucket of water and they just go, psh, and it just kind of goes, and then it just a plume of smoke. That's what it felt like happened when I started watching.
You know what it reminds me of? If I was to say I'm talking with my brethren about this girl I met, yo, she's bad, she's fine as hell, yo, this, that. And then it's time to meet the girl. And that day, she decides to not do her hair. She ain't even washed her face. And it's not that she ain't really actually pretty, but she looks horrible. And that's the presentation that we've seen. So that's the impression that they get. And that's the lasting impression they have. And then me, knowing what potential she has, even after that, we'll still keep talking about her. All the good things.
No, that was just a bad day, but you could see it.
And then we'll come back again. And it's the same dirty shoes and no wash face. And it's like, holy, can people really see who you are?
So basically what you're saying is you're superficial.
No, what I'm saying is, how many times do we have to keep on telling track and field to wash its face?
Fix
you know what I'm saying?
up.
Fix up. Because the true track and field fans and the people who really want to save the sport and the people who know what it is are still fighting for it, still trying to boost it. We always got to big up Sha'Carri because Sha'Carri single-handedly is trying to pull the sport along right now. You know what else I like? The women are racing each other.
Listen, I had to put a tweet out the other day.
The women are clashing. The women will line up. I don't think the women really question much. Well, is such and such giving me the race? Well, okay, I don't want to go.
No.
The men do that a lot. I don't know why, it's the men or if it's the agents or how the agents want to position each.
No,
that's what's happening
batty.
on the men's side.
It's batty. No, it's batty. I'm sorry.
The women are clashing.
But the reason why is because women can see past their ego. They're like, okay, I see where I'm at. I know I'm going to have to raise my game. I want to do what I'm going to do there. So I want to see where I'm at. So I know what I have to do. Whereas the men, they don't want their little egos to be hurt, their pride. That will brook them. They would rather wait. They can't deal with the emotional. They'll probably go to bed at night and have nightmares, right? No one wants to deal with that. So
okay,
whereas women, they're like, okay.
Going in right now. You're going in right now.
No,
while you could be right, it could be business moves. Now, I would love to believe that it is business moves. Well, I don't know. If you want the clashes, then you got to pay for it.
Maybe.
So maybe it's a situation where, okay, if I'm putting myself out there racing this cat, risking my reputation, risking my record, risking my headspace, you got to pay for it.
Says
now, I'm not saying that's
100 meter runner.
Okay, I'm not saying that's a good thing though. I'm very against that. I feel like the best should go against the best as much as possible, especially in a sport like this. Like, competition is such a huge aspect to track and field. Yeah. So we got to see the best against the best, especially what else is going on right now in track and field. We got to see some elite competition, right? Yo, man, line up. People want to see this. And the race that means the most anyways is the championships. So go take a 1-2 loss if you have to.
No, but
man's back in the day didn't care about taking losses on the circuit leading into a championship. Donovan used to get murdered on the circuit. Go run 10-5, 10-4, getting annihilated. When it's championship time, he's ready. He's there. And that's how it should be. These mans don't want to lose and take the social media heat. And I'm not saying it's easy.
That's because also back in the day, there wasn't social media.
There wasn't, but I honestly don't think these mans would have cared. Because if once you win the big one, no one's even remembering them losses. Line up, man. We need this. We can't. We're not seeing no one clash.
So I just was watching and I'm just not entertained. Veta in javelin, that was a great performance. Sha'Carri, there were some good performances, but it was boring. So I just tweeted, so far I'm kind of bored. Few good performances, yet it's all pretty dull to watch. Are any of you entertained? Is track and field boring is a hot topic. Got a feeling we might need to discuss. And here we are. It's just, and then your boy Stuart, I like Stuart.
Yeah, big up the one named Stu.
Listen, Stuart McMillan, I like the way this guy does not mess about. He's right up our alley.
There's so many things that are wrong with our sport. We have, for the most part, I think, a great product. But as any marketer will tell you, it's way less to do with the product and much more to do with the way in which people engage with it. How does it make them feel? You have a bunch of folks in the Diamond League, the IOC, World Athletics, etc., who are trying to be creative, but they are not creative people. You've got a bunch of boring old white guys trying to figure out how to market a sport to a younger generation that is dominated by folks who have nothing in common with them. As for the TV broadcast, the commentator pundit thing and 3 experts in a studio, it's played out, right? It's boring as hell. It doesn't showcase what folks are really interested in. I mean, I watch track and field on TV and I'm bored. And, I love the sport. It's, it needs a total rethink. Broadcasters need to understand that the event is all of it, not just the race. People are interested in the personalities, the stories behind these personalities. Changing the way it is broadcasted is the only way to get more people interested in it.
Clearly, I think it's okay to say that we need some diversity in the commentary box, mainly and especially with the color comms.
When you say color commentary, if you think of a coloring book, play-by-play is actually drawing the outline, and the color, brought in by the color commentary, brings the picture to life. That's the purpose of a color commentator. You bring the picture to life. To bring the picture to life in sport, you have to have a real passion for it. You have to know the life to bring it to life. That's important. You can't just have anybody putting color into a picture. Say there's a picture of, Santa Claus. And to really capture Santa Claus, you got the solid black boots, the bright red jacket, the white hat, the brown reindeers. Now, say someone comes in and they color the reindeers green, or they color Santa Claus's jacket like some dull brown color. It's like,
that's not Santa Claus.
It's not Santa Claus, exactly. It's colored, but it's not the right color. And you're not capturing the essence of Santa Claus and even Christmas per se. So it's important that the color that you bring in is capturing the colors or what the life of the sport is.
I don't want to make it like a black and white thing, like white commentators are boring and black commentators are hyped. It's not about that, because I feel like the balance is what's going to make everyone feel like they're getting the experience that they really deserve out of track and field. Thing is, the other day I was watching one of the live streams, and for me, it's not a full experience for me personally. But watching it the other day, white guy commentating, white girl doing the color comms, who had been as an athlete, right? Middle distance runner, and they're doing the commentary on the whole meet. Clearly, what I've been having a gripe about is that they're not capturing the sprints and the jumps, the vibe that we have, like you were saying. But when I heard them commentating on the middle and long distance, I realized that she's in the know. The way she was talking about it, the way, the insight she was giving, the tactical, moves that were being made.
Tone of voice.
Right. The tone of voice, the energy was very similar to the middle to long distance race. So the tone of voice was similar, and what she was actually saying.
Right.
If I think about sprinters and jumpers, we know really zero about middle and long distance. It's not our vibe, and we don't really watch it that much. I mean, I like to watch it sometimes, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know tactical things. I don't know. You can see a couple things that are happening, but you know you're not in it. And that's where the vibe is missing. That's where that feeling, the essence of it is missing, because someone who's a middle distance runner doesn't know the ins and outs of what a sprint's about, doesn't know the feeling of what it takes to do a field event. But guess what they can do? Wow, that's a really good run. He got out of the blocks really well, because you can just see that with your eyes. Right. Great on the board. See that with your eyes.
Right.
Oh, look at that knee lift. He was really picking his knees up in that home straight. See that with your eyes. And then that's enough just to fill the gap for that.
Right.
A couple seconds here or there. When I listen to those guys do the long distance events or the middle distance events, I'm like, okay, it matches the vibe of that event. The big problem I have is they bring that exact same vibe to the sprints and the jumps, and it's a completely different vibe.
Especially in those speed and power events where most of the people are black, and those are the events that capture a lot of the camera time. So you can't veer away from that, because track and field has a broad scope of different feelings and essences. So you can keep the same 2 people or 3 people in the booth for a baseball game, basketball game, or a football game, because all it is baseball. All it is basketball.
Absolutely.
All it is golf.
Yes.
All it is. So you can do that. But in track and field, every discipline has its own world.
Yes.
So every discipline has its own energy,
yes.
has its own nuances. You have to match that. So you got to bring in different people to capture those nuances.
The problem that I greatly have is that none of the color comms that I know, especially in Europe and the UK, are black. Not one of them. There's zero. I did a little stint for IAAF a couple of years ago. They wanted to go in a new direction. You know, the commentary is very white old man kind of vibe. And then they really wanted to bring in some diversity and some women. And, you know, they want to give a perspective of all different. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great, blah, 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 blah. For me, I've never done it before, right? That kind of while the action's happening. I didn't know all the behind the scenes stuff. I'd never had any training or whatever. But you know, I love my sport. I love to talk. I get super excited about stuff. I've invested however many years into this sport. So I feel like I've got something to give, right? I did a couple of things. Cool. They never got back to me after that. And then they brought in a few white women to do it. And they're longer distance. And I think to myself, so you've got like a white man and a white woman, and they sound very similar. The whole feel of the whole broadcast is...
It's very white.
Very white. And that's fine because that's their experience, you know, and those athletes that have had that experience being white is great. Like, that's who they are. But black athletes have got a completely different vibe. We've got a different energy. It's just completely different, right? And one of the things I feel very frustrated with is that I'm not experiencing watching track and field what my experience as an athlete was. Or now, what my experience as a fan is watching, let's say, 100, long jump high. You know, I'm not getting that experience. It doesn't feel familiar to me. A lot of the athletes are black. And like you said, in the sports that are, to me, the most exciting because they're fast, sharp, powerful, explosive, right? I don't know. I don't find a marathon exciting. I know that long distance runners find that type of thing exciting. That just shows you that kind of long, slow, drawn out 2-hour experience. That then gives you an idea of how the commentary is. Whereas if you're a power speed athlete, right, that you do, I don't know, a jumping event, a sprints event, your whole energy is going to be different. Your whole vibration, the whole way you experience. So that's going to come out. And I think it's really important. Track Dedicated on Twitter said, I think commentary is definitely lacking. No stories, no info on why someone might be running an event and how they might have progressed. Almost no field event coverage. Shouldn't there be an option as a viewer to watch what events you want and it's all covered? This is what I like. One more response. Robert Hockley on Twitter. Yeah. Who wouldn't want to watch, let's say, a Bolt warming up, clowning it up and more in all those great races he had? You only have to watch the docu I Am Bolt to realise how entertaining it would have been and helped track and field, which certainly needs more Bolts. And we know this, and Bolt ain't no more. So I guess in a way we need to really get over it. But I feel like we're still in this hangover Bolt era. But it's true. I mean, what he brought to the sport was entertaining. But putting all that focus on one person, I don't think is right. And I know that you've had a couple conversations, right, with one of your old training partners, Oba Daly. Yeah.
You know what people like seeing? Generally, it has to be competitive. I think people would prefer to see a 7-game series versus a team that just comes and sweeps. Every once in a while, you want to see that. Okay, a sweep. Well, they're the greatest or whatever. But, that gets boring. People want to see a competitive product. Because at the end of the day, sports is about competition. So there's something about knowing that people will go head to head. There's a favorite, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen.
The track and field has a way of, when there's a star, they just harp on that and everything else is forgotten. When in actuality, the stars should just be accents. Like, imagine the NBA if all we spoke about was LeBron James. Imagine tennis if all we spoke about was Serena. All we spoke about was Tiger and golf. While they're still the more prominent names, the other names aren't forgotten or dismissed. But names like that, you do have to give a certain light, right?
Absolutely.
But I don't think we don't got no Bolts in the vicinity right now.
His personality coupled with what he did, there's no one ain't doing that. No one ain't winning no 3 Olympic gold medals in a row in 3 Olympic games. In the 100 meters and the 200 and the relay.
At the time, he seems like he was the value of the sport because of all the stuff he was doing. But track and field is valuable outside of that. And track and field was popular before Bolt.
But that's because what they used to do, they used to build up rivalries, the field or the track, long distance, short distance, whatever it was, they would build up rivalries and they wouldn't focus on one person. You're going to have like a few people. And then what you do, shed a light on a few different athletes. And then it kind of builds that excitement, which isn't happening. And even the coverage of these Continental Tour Gold meets. We had Zango, who just broke the world record in the triple jump indoors, against Christian Taylor, who's the reigning world Olympic champion. This is a head-to-head that happened, and we didn't really hear anything about it. And the first glimpse that we got of it is it just cuts straight to Zango on the runway, running.
Yeah, you guys get shafted, yo. Field events.
I mean, this will be a whole different podcast, and we might delve into one day. But it's ridiculous.
I'm not laughing at y'all,
it's
but
ridiculous
but
they don't realise that is the underbelly of the sport. You have the track events that go on, and then they stop real quick, and then what's happening between is field events. Mm-hmm. And the problem is they hardly ever show those events. Therefore, it just seems very disjointed when you just see one jump here of Zango. And then they cut away to show some track event. They don't even tell you what the man jumped. Then they come back to a next man on the runway. And then they say, oh yeah, by the way, Zango jumped whatever he jumped. Then you see Christian Taylor on the runway doing a run through. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, he's having a problem with his run up. Then you're back again to the track. There's no continuity. There's no consistency. Field events, if you actually just really were to focus on the field events and actually give some insight into what the athletes are doing, who they are, and really give stats and figures about who and what, and head them up head to head, people will then have an understanding. Noah Lyles tweeted some video of some guy watching Sha'Carri run in Mount Sac when she ran the 1077 into the minus 1.2. And Noah was like, this has just made my day, or whatever he said. It's so like great to see, which I was a little bit like, okay. When I watched the video, it was of this guy that set up his camera and he's never watched track and field in his life. It's a funny video because the guy doesn't know what's going on. And now what it highlighted to me, watching him and then looking at it through his eyes, who's never ever seen the sport, he has no idea what's happening and what's not happening. He doesn't know.
We have to spoon feed a little bit more.
Yeah, we need to just be a little bit more...
Elementary?
No. No. Yeah, but no. Yeah, but no. But
a funny story came to my mind because I was at work and there was this guy that was doing this video on something that happened in the past weekend in golf. And his supervisor was looking at the video and she was like, okay, yeah, this is all good, but you'd mentioned a birdie a few times. I think it's important that you explain what a birdie is. He was like, he didn't say this to her. He said this to me. He came to me and was like, how am I going to go on a video that I'm putting out there to golf fans and explain what a birdie is? I'm going to look like a clown. I can't do that. And in his mind, it was this huge thing for him to have to explain what a birdie is because golf fans are going to be like, did this guy really just tell me what a birdie is?
You were saying the other day because they don't have to, because they have such a good following. Unfortunately, in track and field, we don't. So if we're going to be doing things to bring in new eyes, I feel like sometimes it can just be a little bit more basic language that everyone could understand, not the technical terminologies of things. One of the things I want to get into with this Continental Tour Gold, I think there's 12 events around different places in the world, and they've been streaming them. First of all, this is why I'm kind of in a bit of a dilemma. As track fans, we're like, we need to see more races and we need to see more competitions and we need to see, hats off to World Athletics for actually trying to make this happen, that it gives other people a little bit more of an opportunity that are not the elite to get into some races and actually help them to perform and actually improve, right? I feel like these competitions are integral and are crucial for that level. However, I feel like the money that they're putting into streaming and the production and everything, which isn't the greatest, and that's the problem. It's like a low par, they're not hitting the mark, but they're still putting a production, there's still a production cost. There's still money going into these meets to stream them and to get them out and to broadcast them. I think they should stop doing that. Still have the meets on around the world, but the money they're putting into broadcasting it and the producing it should be all put into Diamond League competitions and make those a massive spectacle. Hard hitting, non-stop action, full of the pizzazz, the lights, fireworks, all of it, right? I feel like that.
It does seem like a waste. While it seems like the production isn't really that well done, you still got to pay for the rights. You still got to pay for the personnel. You got to pay for all the cameras. You got to pay for all the licensing. But they're probably still short-staffed.
Yeah.
Because in general, to pay for a huge production team would take a lot of money.
Yeah. The reason why I'm picky is because I want it to show what it's capable of. I want it to hit the heights that I know that it can, right? So
why do people get so sensitive when the presentation is critiqued? Because the athletes get critiqued all the time if they have shortcomings in their performance. It's just the thing to do. They're just supposed to be able to take it and handle it. And in general, the way you present the sport, if it's not at a high level, then you got to be told that it's not at a high level. And that's just what it is. Get better. Fix up. Wash your face, yo.
Fix up. Look sharp.
It's not even like a total knock on what you're doing. Like, I know the effort's there, right? We're not knocking the effort as far as trying to get it out there. But if I'm in a workout and the way I'm propelling out of the blocks isn't at the right angle, or I'm not letting it ride, or I'm not bringing my arm through the right way, it has nothing to do with the effort I'm putting it in. My coach is going to tell me the right way to do it. You take the criticism, you do it properly the next time. So the effort can be utilized. You get better and the effort can be utilized in the proper way.
What's the end goal? For you, it would be to be the fastest sprinter in the world.
Exactly.
So are you going to get upset when your coach, who's the expert or has some good insight, right? You're going to take it and you're going to then try and put it into practice so you can become better.
Right.
What is their end goal? Be like, there you go, be grateful. And I think that's what it is.
I don't want to be grateful to see it. And in general, it's not like when we critique, we're like, just stop trying, guys. We're saying, hey, here's some insight. This is how it's going to be better. We love what you're doing, but we shouldn't have to say, hey, we love what you're doing, guys.
No, I know.
Thanks for the efforts.
Let's just deal with it.
Right.
So for me, right, I personally, right now, feel like this Continental Tour, the way it's being streamed is diluting the sport. Lots of people are still in lockdown and, whatever. And let's just tune in to this thing that I've been seeing circulating around social media. And they tune in and they see this. I'm tuning right back out and I'm going to keep it moving. I'm not tied to this sport. I've got no idea of what's really, other than people running fast. But when I look at it, we either have to lower our standards for what we call entertainment, or do we keep our standards? For me, I want to keep my standards as for myself really high. So therefore, anything that I'm engaging in, I'm going to just be honest from my standpoint. That's it. That's when I look at this, I feel like they're diluting the sport. Unless it's just for the fans. Then, okay, but I still think the fans would prefer to see absolutely amazing Diamond League competitions at the expense of seeing these Continental Tours.
Yeah, it's not strong enough right now. I don't know if it's going to get better, but how would it get better? Is it going to get more money? Are they going to get more bodies?
Do you know what I think they should do with the Continental Tour? In each individual country, I'm assuming, are going to be hyped to have their little Continental Tour, right? So they're going to probably show it on local TV. Why don't they just feed into that, right? It might be quite biased to their local athlete, but you're still going to get to see the race, right? You can't understand what they're saying, but that's okay. You don't need to really hear the commentary anyway, because it's not like lighting up your life anyway in the way it is at the moment. So I just really, all we want to do is see the race or the jump or the throw. Why don't they do that? Maybe that's a better way. That, and then put that money into the Diamond League.
And actually put together large and legitimate production crews and staff, and then have a polished product. Way
more polished, a little bit more pizzazzy, a little bit more of a showstopper, fast and furious, action nonstop. And that's why I like some of the tweets that we read out from people and their suggestions about what needs to happen. I absolutely think there needs to be stuff in the mix zone. I think there needs to be stuff in the warm-up area, capturing all the banter and all the nerves and the excitement, and some stuff between, maybe mic up a couple coaches and athletes in the warm-up area prior to like going out.
Yo, that'd be cool if you see how every so often in football or basketball, any of the sports, sometimes they'll mic up an athlete.
Formula
mic
One.
Up an athlete, yo, and just like have them out in the warm-up area, just going around talking to whoever they're talking to.
Yeah, they forget about it, like Big Brother, like the Big Brother, like reality TV show, like Formula One, when you hear what they're saying to the control room when they're in the car and they're driving at 200 miles an hour and they're still having these crazy conversations, right? Yeah. Mic up a couple coaches, a couple athletes, maybe a couple therapists. Do that. Definitely show what's going on in the warm-up area. Listen, when I go to a track meet now, I never want to go and watch the track meet. The place I want to be is in the warm-up area.
Same here.
Because that is exactly where everything's happening, and nobody at home ever gets to see that. They might have a little camera there and they show people running up and down, mic up the athletes and the coaches and hear the dialogue and what's going on between.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think this would ever happen, but call rooms as well.
Why would this never happen? Why would it not happen?
Well, it hasn't happened. So it's like holy territory, it seems like, where no one's going back there except for athletes.
Let me ask you a question. If you go to a concert, which I can't believe you told me you've never actually been to a concert.
No, I've never
before.
been to a concert before.
This is the craziest thing. I thought I was bad and I've been to like 3. Too into your athletics then, huh?
I think that's what it was. I think it was too focused.
Yeah. Anyway, anyone out there that's ever been to a concert? Yes, really, really nice watching the concert, right? But if someone said you can sit and watch the concert in the crowd, or you can go backstage, you got to choose one. Where's anyone going?
You're going to go backstage.
I'm going backstage.
Yo, backstage passes. They should give a 1-2 backstage pass after you go through. Walking to where the call room is, and everyone's got to be in their lane assignments and their heats and groups when you walk through the tunnels or whatever. Yo, have some fans in there, yo.
Right?
Have some people in there. You get some pay for extra access, or get given extra access back there. And
it's crazy. There's no access
feel
for
the energy,
no one.
feel the vibe. Like, see them right in front of you. You know what I'm saying? Athletes, all we see is of them on the screen, then off the screen.
Do you know what I really like as well? When they have that camera set up in the NBA, when they're coming into the stadium and they're all dressed up like fly as hell,
that would
right?
be sick.
And then you just see, and like, imagine athletes having that kind of setup. See what athletes' styles are that you'll be getting, like, you know, and then it's a way to maybe get some sponsors that are not just shoe companies, because you know who's going to be looking the flyest walking into. I always crack up when I see like all the styles of the NBA players walking through that tunnel into the stadium, and they're like all dressed up in different ways. And you know that's evolved over the years, and now they're really trying to pimp it.
Yeah,
that would be cool, because athletes have got some of the best personalities. One of the comments was, "Can we talk about vests?" It's confusing watching as a fan, everyone wearing exactly the same vest. Like, can they not at least have different individualized or a couple of different ones so that it's not just the same?
You see how they have athletes have like customized shoes, different shoes. The elite athletes, let them customize their uniform, yo. Even if it's within the.
I used to have customized.
Oh, you swear you're wicked, but like you, and I commend you for this, because you were separated from all the other jumpers. You stood out, and which is what everybody should try to do in track and field. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to wear whatever design uniform you want to wear, even if it's with the same shoe company. It should the design should be by you. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And even if it's just the elite athletes or who's considered elite, why not? Because no one's really going to really notice the different shoes as much as they would notice a different uniform. You can tell by what company they are by the logo. Cool. It doesn't have to be all uniform where they all look the same. Because
at least as an athlete, you know, if you get into the top 10 in the world, you're getting your own designed uniform, and then you can put your flavor and your style on it. So then when you're watching as a fan, you get to see a little bit of that person's personality and who they're about and what they're about. You know, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, that's what she chose, or that's what he chose. Okay, I get a little vibe from him or her from what they're doing.
You have these figures, these specimens that are like none other, and what they're able to do with these bodies. So the cameras have to be able to capture that. We need more cameras on the ground capturing these physiques,
like close-ups,
capturing how these people are propelling themselves over bars, into pits, out of blocks, launching javelins, shot puts. We need to see this in 240 frames slow-mo, because we've been on the ground, so we see it, but other people haven't been on the ground. So you can't shoot it with this overarching linear mentality, because right now they're presenting track and field like other linear sports, when there's so many different disciplines in track and field. It's not linear. It's very unconventional. You have to present it in an unconventional way.
We just saw a new rule that they brought in for the jumps, where the plasticine, there's a thin strip of plasticine on each side of the board. It's a wooden board, thin strip. It's at a 45-degree angle, right? So the plasticine kind of goes into the top of the board. So the board's 10 centimeters wide. Anyone who's seen it, I'm sure you've seen it. If you hit the plasticine on each side, you get no jump. They've now decided to change the angle of the little bit of plasticine from 45 degrees to 90 degrees. I absolutely have no idea why they would want to do that. Well, I'm assuming it's because when an athlete gets really, really close to the board, they don't roll over onto their front of their toe. They their foot comes down and comes up, but you can see it kind of goes over the plasticine a little bit, but they don't leave a mark, and it causes some controversy. With this, it would leave a mark. But what I don't understand about the logic behind this is, why would you want to see more no jumps and big red crosses on someone's score? Man. No one wants to see that.
Let's disqualify some more people. Let's get more red X's.
Right, like
what's the culture of track and field? Let's just catch people. We got to catch people doing stuff.
And anyone out there that wants to say, well, that's the purity of the sport, that's the purity of the event, be a bit more disciplined. Well, yeah. However, when you go to different competitions, every single track is completely different. The surface, weather condition is different. You might be still 0 wind. You might have a minus wind. You might have a swirling wind where 1 minute it's -1, then the next minute it's +2. The chances of you actually being really consistent and getting all your 6 jumps in is limited. Hitting a board 20 centimeters wide from 40 meters down the runway is difficult, even if there was no wind, let alone dealing with different types of weather conditions, dealing with different track surfaces, and they don't give you that many warm-up approaches. Why would you want to create a situation where people are going to get more no jumps when really what we want to do is be bringing more people into the sport? No one wants to see that. If anything, you want to go the other way. You're like, okay, let's do a little thing where let's let jumpers take off from anywhere. So we actually measure from where they take off.
Oh, you would agree with that? I would love something like that.
I mean, in a couple of meets, why not try that?
Just like there's not a board, there's just a zone.
A zone. I do like the idea of hitting the board and having to have some sort of level of consistency.
Right.
But why not try in these little, pizzazzy meets, try something like that from where the actual athlete takes off. Then we're going to really see, because I've seen competitions and I've been in competitions where a person doesn't even hit the board. They miss 20 centimeters and then they might come 3rd or 4th. And you're like, if that 20 centimeters would have won the whole competition.
What would they actually
jump? So what are they actually jumping? Their physical, actual capabilities. Right. Another thing that I would love to see, some sort of like head-to-head competition. Like they do in boxing, like they do in MMA, where they basically really put 2 people up against each other. Whatever events, 2 people against each other.
I think that's something that needs to happen. I actually have been in talks with Donovan Bailey and Michael Johnson about this becoming a thing that they could possibly be a part of. Because the head-to-head allows presenters to give more of a story of each person.
Absolutely.
There's more camera time on each person. There's the actual mano-y-mano effects that you get from tennis and boxing and stuff like that. And it's very adversarial, which is what sells. Mm-hmm. It allows less to have to focus on from a broadcaster standpoint. It's 2 people. Because right now, track and field is head-to-head, but it's not really head-to-head. It's kind of head-to-head.
This is one of our arguments that we had, actually, when we got into this. I don't know exactly how it would be done in terms of how you would pick who would be the head-to-head. So there's 8 athletes jumping. This person are head-to-head. And you really hype them. And they're the main show. Like in boxing, right? You have these other people leading up to the main fight. This is, I think, one of the biggest things that track and field does not do. I don't understand it. And every top main sport does. Why is there no stat sheet that comes up on the screen? So for the main 2 athletes in the event. So whether it's the 100 meters and it's just a normal 100 meters, but let's say it's the 2 best athletes, that graphic where you see the picture of the person and then on the other side, you see the other picture of the person. And then it's like name, age, height, weight, best performance, whatever it is. And with track and field, we'll have our own, and if it's the men's triple jump, longest ever hop, longest ever step, longest ever jump. So then you can actually see, oh, so he's the favorite. Now I see he's got a better, that's where he's lacking. So then what it does, it educates people that come in. And that's why these massive sports as well, other than it being like they can get behind a team, they feel like they're part of it. They know what's going on because they can see from the stats what it is that it takes to do what they do. This, I don't understand why they don't have this in the sport. This is right now can be done. This can just be implemented straight away. A company come in, whoever does it for all the other sports and does those stat sheets for track and field. It can be done right now.
It could be. And there's people who follow these stats and, there's Costas, there's Statman
John.
Yeah. So there's people who have the capabilities. It's just a matter of getting it to be presented.
Obviously, it would be quite a lot to input all of that information, but each governing body could do that for their own athletes. Right now, the World Athletics page has every single athlete that's in the top whatever with all of their stats. So So why can't that just be like fed into some sort of...
Well, work is being done. We see the efforts being put in. It's just got to be channeled in the right direction.
I just feel like our sport still got kind of like a prehistoric mindset. It's trying to come up with certain things, and it's trying to, you can see, we have to say this, that we really liked from the World Championships from 2019 when they had the lights on the track. That was one of the coolest things that they've done. That was amazing. That is the type of stuff that we need. That's a spectacle. That's pizzazz. That's something. That's a showstopper.
The lighting presentation that was done in 2019 was done by this guy named Florian Weber. Mm-hmm. We'd been in dialogue a little bit. It would have been really interesting to see what they were going to do presentation-wise in Tokyo. I'm sure they probably had some amazing things. I don't know if we're going to see it or not, but it would have been pretty cool to see. But it takes away from this linear presentation that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a show right now. It's purely sport.
Yeah.
And we're in the entertainment game.
We are.
So entertain me. What do you have outside of these assets that you have, which are good, but what do you have? And how often are you bringing me this product at this high level? Because we're only seeing it at a high level, quality-wise, at the Olympics and the World Championships.
Mm.
I think that's important too, which other sports are killing us in, because it's consistently at a high level.
Yeah.
We'll be at a high level in those big championships and then at a pretty low level otherwise. So we lose people.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I actually have the honor of doing a long story short today.
Long story not short.
Long story not short, I'm sorry. This is something that stood out in my mind. So in my days when I was working at CBC, the way I started out, I did the intern thing, which is another totally other story, coming out of being an Olympian and becoming an intern all of a sudden in your mid-30s, right?
Jeez.
But anyway, as an intern, I was doing some odd jobs here and there, but just being in the building and being exposed to this high level of media was a big thing for me, because when I was in broadcasting school, we're all learning, we're all at a low level, and you come into this building where there's these professionals and there's all this high-end equipment, and you see how things are actually being put together. There was a show that used to come on every weekend. It was called Sports Weekend, which is now called Road to the Olympic Games. And they used to do amateur sport. They'd pick it up, right? All the winter events that were happening overseas, any swimming events, diving events, anything. So there was a ski competition that was coming up, and I was doing the ticker. When you're watching sports and it shows the scores or it shows the times for games coming up later on that night or some results that came in, I was typing that stuff in the computer, right? But I'm in the control room, which is cool. It's chaos in there, right? The amount of things that are happening in this room, you got someone totally focused on only replays, someone only focused totally on the fonts, you got the crew with on-air people. You got directors all on headset being able to correspond with the people that are on the floor, whether it's a floor director, whether it's the on-air personalities, whether it's the people within the control room. You got people yelling across the room at each other as far as what should be happening here or there. Oh, there's also the switcher, switching between the different feeds that are coming in, making sure they got to break in time smoothly to get to their sponsors. But there's still like 20 other people in the room. I don't even know what they're doing, but they're all helping the presentation move smoother. Right. And during the week, there's planning that goes into every second that goes into the show. We got this book. It was the show breakdown, like a booklet, about 15 to 20 pages, I don't know, of to the second, every single thing that's happening as far as who's being interviewed, who's on camera, what features are coming in, when they're coming out, when we go to break. Everything to a T is broken down throughout the week. And then even through the week, there's features being written, features being shot, there's interviews happening. The planning that goes into this is immense, obviously. All of this is going into this weekend show, which is remaining consistent, but it's at a high level of production. This particular week, I had done a feature on curling. One of the producers allowed me to go into an editing suite, present a script to an editor to put together. And, I think it was the history of curling or something like that.
Oh,
something
how exciting.
Something that I don't really know about, but I was able to capture the story. It was my first one that I had done on that level, right? And I think this is this huge deal, but it was only one piece of this puzzle. My feature came, and I'm all hyped about my feature coming on, right? Yo, no one in the control room was even paying attention to the feature, yo. You don't even really care. I'm thinking this is some big thing, right? I'm getting all hyped, bigging up my chest like, here goes my things, right? Like one or two people might have but they're just doing their thing. The machine is running, right? It's all about the presentation and how we get to what's coming up next. The show is going. So feature went through, which I thought was all right, by the way. Finally come to the end of the show. And I don't know why I was right here for this moment, but I just remember when everything was done, after all the chaos was done, after all the weekly planning that went into this, the executive director walked over to the garbage can where I was at. He had the booklet in his hand of the breakdown of the whole show, which was broken down to the second, like I mentioned before. He just did like this slow pace over to the garbage, just kind of looking through his phone while he was walking over. He took the booklet and just like tossed it in the garbage and then went about his business, right? But what stood out to me is that, yeah, we put all this planning, all this work, all this man and woman power, all of this into this show. We presented it and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do it all again next week.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's done. Like, while I say my little feature was small, in general, the whole thing was small. It's done. Now with track and field, we have stuff like this for the Olympics. We climax for the Olympics. We climax for the World Championships. But as far as having that consistency on the weekly basis or even a monthly basis, it's not there. So we don't keep our fans. Our fans trail off because we're not at that level all the time. So we'll get it in every 4 years because that's the effort that's put in every 4 years. But aside from that, we're losing everybody. It's all of a sudden this big deal to present the Olympics, the World Championships. Oh, yes, we got to put all in. And then let's put nothing in. Or let's put a lackluster product in for the remainders of the years. And then wonder why we're losing people, yo. But that's what it is. We shouldn't harp too much on the presentations and just feel like, okay, we did that. Now we'll just wait another 2 years till Worlds comes around. High level all the time should just be the norm.
Can you imagine if athletes went about their athletic career in the same way that they go about
presenting track field?
Let's just, the year of the Olympics, start training. As soon as the Olympics is done, let me just fully fall off and like not do any training. And you know what? I'm going to come out for like all the meets and just be out of shape and just, I'm going to be better than the average Joe Blogs on the street. But I mean, I'm not going to be myself because why do I need to? I only need to be myself for the Olympics.
You guys should be grateful.
You should be grateful that I'm out here doing it.
You should be grateful that I'm here.
I'm putting on a show. I'm like, I'm out of shape and like I'm huffing and puffing. But I mean, I'm out here doing it. Be grateful.
Yo, if we're going to get track and field to be a household sport, every single time it comes out, it has to be done at a high level.
The same consistent,
right? And there should be no
level.
Be grateful for what we've presented. It should be the norm. It's just what it is. You don't need the pat on the back every single time. It's, we finish that production, let's keep it moving and kill the next one and then kill the next one and then kill the next one. This is just the reality of what we do and how we present it. It's not, it shouldn't be this huge deal when we present track and field in an elite way. Because it's not maintaining our reach.
There's so many things that we could do, but what we do agree is that there needs to be some doing happening.
The effort is there. And hey, if all broadcasters and media people out there need the pat on the back for what they're trying to do, hey, we appreciate the effort. Okay, we do. Can we move past that now? And can we channel this effort into the right direction? Can we take some telling as far as what can be done and have our ears open to some of the people who've been in the sport, understand the sport, have the passion for the sport? Let's channel this into the right direction. We're just trying to give a little bit of critique to make the product better. We don't want y'all to stop. We're not saying to pack it in. We're saying, hey, thanks for the effort, but it could be better like this. Let's change something because we're stuck in the Coliseum right now. While I'm seeing the sport slowly die, there's still a chance to save it. Post-Bolt. Let's utilize some of the assets that we do have. There's a lot of them.
Thanks for tuning in to the Unconventional Voices of Track and Field podcast. Follow, like, and join the conversation at Voices of TNF, as well as subscribe across all podcast platforms.